In today's video, I'm telling you how to get sharper images for free. And at the end of the video, I have a bonus tip for those of you who stick around and watch the whole video. Let's get into the first part of the video, which is talking about what happens in camera while you're shooting the photo. I want to start by telling you that raising your ISO and shortening the shutter gives you a better result than if you had motion blur, extended the shutter, and had less ISO noise. So bearing that in mind, your shutter should be at least twice your full frame focal length equivalent. However, I prefer having it even faster because my hands are more shaky than most people's. So if you're shooting on a 50mm lens, on a full frame camera, your shutter would have to be at least 1/100th, but for me, I set it to 1/200th. On a regular APS-C, that is 1.5 times 50, which is 75, then multiply that by 2, gives you 150. But again, I like to set mine higher, and that would be around 300th of a second. On a Canon APS-C, you have to times 50 by 1.6, then multiply that by 2, which gives you 160. However, again, I like to extend that to around 350. And then on Micro Four Thirds, it's 50 times 2 times 2, which gives you 1/200th of a second, but I extend it to 1/400th of a second. Now, in terms of aperture, you don't want to be totally wide open because most lenses are sharpest around 3 stops below their wide open point. And I've linked to a chart in the description where it shows you what different stops are, so you can go exactly 3 stops below your lens's widest open point to get the sharpest image. And on top of that, do not go past f10 because after f10, most lenses experience diffraction. And I'm sure there's some kind of Gerald Undone video that explains that. So what are your tips for getting sharper images? If you have any, let me know in the comments below. Now let's move on to what you can do in post after the photo's been shot to sharpen it up even more. The first thing you want to do is use the sharpen tools in whatever photo editor you use, but don't use too much, otherwise the image looks too digital. If you're in Photoshop or are happy moving from Lightroom to Photoshop with Lightroom's built-in dynamic link feature, use the unsharp mask because it's a very good way of not over sharpening but still getting a sharper image. You can also sharpen directly in Lightroom with the texture and the sharpen features. However, I recommend against using clarity because it changes the images in a sometimes undesirable fashion. However, if it helps to show the emotion that you want, then use it, but don't overdo it. Now, if you want less noise to come through while you're sharpening, use a higher radius in Lightroom's sharpen feature. However, too much radius can lead to color noise rather than luminance noise. And those are two different things that affect the image in different ways, neither of which are desirable. Now, in some situations, denoising can help. However, because of the way it softens the image, it might end up being worse for your image after the denoising process. As mentioned previously, noise is better than blur. So, you can use the remove motion blur filter in Photoshop, and that actually works quite well. However, again, too much of this and your image will begin to look digital and unnatural. As you may know, turning up the sharpening too much in an image can result in halos around the contrasting edges of bright and dark subjects. For example, eyelashes on skin. I have an upcoming video that explains how in Photoshop you can reduce these halos, which allows you to sharpen more but not get the digital look effect.